basically of the physical and the planet itself. Now tomorrow in my Indian presentation I will be talking about that in a degree, because I'll be talking about the Mayan prophecy, I'll be talking about the Hopi prophecy, and then I will be talking about the ultimate Indian prophecy. And it's in these sequences that we get some awareness and some idea of what's going to happen to us in the very near future. You know, we're coming down the finish line right now. We're running for all we're worth. We're headed for the tape, you know, to finish the race. But before we get there, we still got some very important things to do. And to many of us, they will be pleasant. To others, they're going to be horrendous. Depends upon where you are with your state of consciousness. If you're capable at this time of accommodating incoming spirit or the Christ consciousness, you will be spared the majority, if not all, of the adversities that others will experience. There is no safe place in the physical. If that's where your mind is, you're doomed to experience the very things that you are fearing. Fear is one of the greatest elements of control that the bad extraterrestrials have over us. As long as you fear, you give your power away. If you can be one with the source or God, the Creator, or one with the Christ, you will be spared these adversities. Even if you were to be harmed momentarily, for the moment, you would not feel great pain and what have you. You'd be taken out of body into your rightful place and in concert with the Christ. So if you can remember all that, then of course that's the survival that you're looking for in terms of the coming earth changes. Earth changes are a certainty. And I think the most apropos statement that Jesus ever made in terms of something like this, he said in answer to a question, when can we expect you to come? He said, I shall come like a thief in the night. Which means literally that he will come when we least expect it. Now the truth is, he's already here. And of course, it is in the form of consciousness. You know, we're not going to have, the only ones that are going to see the Christ in the second coming are those who are on a like vibration and like consciousness. For those who are not, they're not going to see him. But those of you who can raise your consciousness high enough to accommodate the Christ consciousness, you indeed will see the second coming of the Christ. So what Tuella said about everybody being lifted off the planet, you know, in the time of great disaster is not true. The space vehicle that will take you off of this planet as the extraterrestrial that you truly are, and incidentally, planet Earth is a spacecraft, you know. It's hurtling through space just like any other spacecraft could or would, and you are part and parcel of it. But the vehicle to get you off of this planet into your respective places from which you came, your point of origin and so forth, into the fourth and fifth dimension, believe it or not, is that body you sit in right here. There's a transformational process that's taking place and has been for many years now in the body, in the consciousness, in the soul, and in the mind. Each and every one of us, if we are doing our job right, we are going through a transformational process wherein we are becoming light. We are donning our light bodies, as opposed to what we normally had before, which was a body of corporeality. The Bible, even the Bible states it almost unequivocally. It says, dust to dust, earth to earth. That's the old archaic thinking. That's all changed now. You've changed it. You've changed it through your actions and your interactions. You have changed it through your consciousness. And now what we're doing, you as an individual and me, we're lifting ourselves into the light, because the light is the escape mechanism that we will use to get off of this planet. In the past, there have been several things they have used, several vehicles. Again, we're talking about the extraterrestrials. They have used several vehicles to raise the consciousness, not only of the planet, but also of you and I. And again, this is an aside. I won't go into it in depth. It is part of another lecture that I give. But the instruments which they have used in the past are, of course, pyramids, crystals, vortexes, and you and I. Now, I'm not an artist, but crystals, better put a cap on that, I guess. Crystals, pyramids, vortexes. The ultimate, of course, is you and I. There are 12 of these. There's 12 of these, and there's unlimited amounts of vortexes. Throughout the Earth as we know it, and I'll be writing this in my next book. I've been commissioned in Germany to write my second book, in addition to the one I have back there. That's the Armstrong Report number 2. They've asked me to write Armstrong Report number 1, I beg your pardon. And now I've been commissioned to write Armstrong Report number 2. I'm going to be talking about these things in the Armstrong Report number 2. Around the planet, you follow in the equatorial belt, such as you see here. This is our planet. You've got juxtapositioned all around the planet. You have crystals, and you have, of course, pyramids. All of these are strategically located in the proximity, either south or north, of the equatorial belt, as you see it here. And these are instruments, these two right here, basically, are primary instruments of control to influence you and I to respond to a given incoming vibration or consciousness. Now, the one thing that the guardian forces, and for the most part I'm talking about the guardian forces, the one thing they will not do, vis-a-vis, say, the not-so-good ETs, is to interfere with the free will of mine. They will not. That is sacred, even to them, and they know that it's sacred to us. So therefore, they will not interfere with our free will, but they will interact with us subliminally by using these divine instruments, the pyramids and the crystals, the vortexes, to cause you and I to respond in a given way. Let's say that what they wish to do is to raise the consciousness of the planet. Well, the planet resonates at 7.83 roughly hertz. So what they would like then is for each and every one of us to respond to that 7.83 hertz, you see, so that we become, how shall we say, in harmony, you know, and we are sympathetic to the incoming vibrations. So that's a subliminal influence that they impose upon us. Now, to cause all this to come to pass, they use the crystals and, of course, the pyramids around the equatorial belt by beaming energy into these edifices, such as the pyramid and the crystal, to get them to vibrate to a given harmonic or frequency. Many years ago, while working with the Pueblo Indians in Taos, New Mexico, looking for my teacher, and I finally found him. He was an Indian with the Pueblo Club, the name of, tribe, I should say, called Sunhawk. And my Indian training, of course, came through him, and he's now dead. But during that time, too, I was very much into the study, particularly the spiritual aspects of UFOs, when this information was given to me. Had to do with the many sonic booms that were taking place back in those days. How many people remember the sonic booms back? Okay. They said it was the new Concorde, the new French aircraft. They said it was the military developing new craft and what have you. I didn't believe it. So I went to the brothers, the Space Brothers, and my ship particularly, and I said, look, are they doing it or is it you? And they said, we're doing it. And I said, well, what the hell are you doing? They said, well, we're adjusting the planet, you know. With the coming Earth changes and the things which are going to be taking place in the near future, there has to be some adjustments. So we're taking some things in and we're taking other things out. And this activity, of course, is causing these sonic booms. Well, I'm from Missouri. So, you know, and I'm a very pragmatic man, really. Being ex-military and everything that I am, I have a very pragmatic side. But I also have a side which I feel is basically creditable, that I can delve into other areas of understanding. So my first question to them was, well, okay, maybe that's so. How about showing me what you're doing? The next thing you know, and I was in meditation at that point, I was taken out of body, and I ended up, believe it or not, under the Bermuda Triangle. And when I got down there, here I am standing here before a huge crystal called the Mother Crystal, which was surrounded by 12 smaller crystals of different shapes and sizes, hexagonal, diamond, all geometric formations, along with the Mother Crystal, which was immense. There's not enough people in this room to get their arms around the circumference of this circle, I mean this crystal. It was so big. And another thing I noted while I was looking at that, before I asked him what it was all for, I looked down here to my far left, and way down there were about 20 UFOs parked like they were in a parking lot, you know. And immediately in front of them was this huge tunnel that looked like a railroad tunnel. And this was of great interest to me. But anyhow, got my attention back to the crystal, and I said, well, what is this? What's it mean? And then the thought occurred to me, is this the one that sank Atlantis? And they said, yes, that's the one that sank Atlantis. And I said, all right. I said, what does it do? Well, then they began to explain to me the theory that I'm just now giving you, that there are 12 major crystals and there are 12 major pyramids around in a circumference around the equatorial belt. And then they told me how they begin to use these crystals and pyramids and vortexes to stimulate the consciousness of the planet collectively and individualistically. Now, for instance, let's say that this is the crystal itself. We'll use it simultaneously. The ship's up here. And what they do, they beam energy into the crystal itself. And the crystal then takes this energy and it begins to vibrate at a given frequency or harmonic. Now, that's controlled, of course, from the ship in the form of a laser penetration. And as it begins to vibrate, of course, it sings, and it reaches a certain state of resonance. And, of course, what they do then is to farm that out into the other crystals, of course, that surround it. And it's like playing an organ or a piano, you know. They can vary this through the mother crystal itself. They can feed it out into the subcrystals, 12 in nature, and they can have, you know. What's it remind you of? Remember the movie? Yeah. Hey, those guys knew what they were doing when they did it. You know, they were telling us something. And this was the same principle that they described to me as a methodology of influencing you and I and the planet and the world to respond to a given frequency or harmonic. But we have to respond to it. They will not make us do it because they will not interfere with our free will. Incidentally, for your edification, I have plotted all these. I have them now plotted around the equatorial belt. And as I say in my next book, I will reveal where they are. Of interest, 5 of them, 5 of these major pyramids, would you believe it or not, is in the holdings of the United States. Hawaii, beginning with Hawaii. There's one in Maui. There's one off of the coast of Vancouver, which is a contingent part of the USA, and it's under the water. The next one is in the Four Corners area, right where we're living. There's a major pyramid up there. Some years ago it almost came up. I was in on that. And then the next one you will find in the, that's 3. The 4th one is to be found in the, what they call the triangular area of Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. You know where that is? That's the old Algonquin area. And that's where all the serpentine mounds are and what have you. And many, many inexplicable things. They're still scratching their head trying to figure out, you know, what they are. And lo and behold, here very recently, just while I was in Europe, they discovered a major pyramid there. They were excavating with bulldozers and they ran into this silly thing and it's under the ground. And the estimate is that it's something like 1,200 feet deep, something like that is a report I heard. So there's the 5th one. And is that the 4th? Let's see. 1, 2, 3. It's the 4th one. The 5th one is to be found off of the coast of Maine, and it's underwater. So there are your 5 of the 7 pyramids, and the rest of them, of course, I have plotted through Europe.